Best Life 30, your 30-day journey to creating the best life possible for yourself. You can just watch this video, or if you want to sign up for the entire series for free and get the companion bonus worksheets that go with this video, check the link in the description below. All right, so today is day 23, and we're going to learn how to better brand yourself.
You have to advertise. You have to advertise in your career to blow your brand up. You cannot not advertise and save money. It cost me probably 400, should I even say a number this big? Yes. Or do I lose everybody? No. $400 million we have estimated is what it cost me because I didn't advertise for the first 20 years of my career. But before you spend $1 in advertising, and even if it was wasted, it'd be a great dollar to spend. Even if you don't get a return, you should do it. But before you do that, what you need to do is spend a lot of time, energy, and resources on branding. I made a mistake here not spending more money in advertising. I made a bigger mistake not spending more time, energy, and resources on branding. And you are making a mistake if you do any kind of metrics on did it convert? Did it pay off? Branding will not pay off. Zero. You will get a zero return if you don't brand. Okay, you will get a zero return for branding in the beginning. You will never get a return on advertising if you don't brand. Branding is a must. It is senior to advertising.
A big part of what makes a company successful is whether or not they have a brand, B-R-A-N-D, almost misspelled it. Okay. And brand, people think, well, it's the communication, you know? But a brand is more than that. The reason Rich Dad is so valuable right now is because it is an internationally known brand the same way as Trump is known as a brand. And the real question on a brand is not just communication. See, a brand makes it easier to sell. When somebody says Rich Dad, they go, oh, I think I heard of that, or I know what the guy stands for and all this. So what a brand really is the entire BI triangle. If you're going to create a brand, especially in a world that's overcrowded with advertising, communication, the webs, iPods, print, blogs, I mean, there's so much competition now for a person's time, it really is more important that you become a brand. So there's a shortcut communication. Like if I say the word Ferrari, you know, you get a picture of something in your mind. It's a whole body effect. But if I said Hyundai or Kia, you know, car, they're probably just as good a car, but you get a whole different emotional effect just by the brand name. So I'm not saying Hyundais are better or worse than a Ferrari, but I'll pay more for a Ferrari than I will for a Hyundai. I don't own a Hyundai, by the way. I own a Ferrari. What does it mean? It's a shortcut communication. Like if I say the word Apple, you know, some people think of computers and some people think of red apple. But for the guys like me I'm an Apple fanatic, you know, the brand means a lot to me. I love Steve Jobs. He's one of the best entrepreneurs in the world right now. And if I say the word Marine Corps is a brand. It communicates everything, the mission, the team, the leadership, the style, the message. You know, the Marines have a saying, we're only looking for a few good men and women. That means we just don't want to be like the Army. We have to position ourselves away from the Army, the Air Force, and the Coast Guard, and the Navy. So brands are so vitally important as a communication tool, especially in today's over-communicated to world. There are more people competing for your customer's mind, their time. You know, how many blogs can you read? How many magazines can you read? How many television sets can you read? How many games can you play and all this? So today, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, it becomes more and more important that you become a brand.
When you're driving down the highway and you see a Coca-Cola billboard, and then you see a big giant bus in the city with a Coca-Cola advertisement on it, do you think Coca-Cola knows where the sales are coming from? Are they able to track the sales from the billboards or the sales from the bus or the sales from the movie theater? Obviously not, right? They do branding as advertising, and they have a ton of money, and so they are just shooting their brand out everywhere, and they are everywhere all the time, right? Omnipresence. Now, when I first started out with Fit Body Bootcamp, and I wanted to make this a global brand, I didn't think about how I can brand myself, I just wanted to do one thing. I wanted to sell one franchise location. And when I sold one franchise location, I said I'm gonna sell another franchise location. And then I sold a third franchise location, and a fourth, and a fifth, and now we have hundreds of Fit Body Bootcamp locations worldwide. We've created a national brand, and it's become a thing. But before you can make yourself a thing, before you can make your business a thing, you gotta first just focus on direct response marketing. Direct response marketing is accountable marketing. I know that it feeds the ego to see yourself as a brand and a public figure, but listen, if you were to just start putting your logo or your brand all over the place, how are you gonna be able to track where the money's coming from? You're not gonna be able to track that. And if you can't track it, you can't quantify it. The best branding you can do in your business is to make a promise and to keep a promise. When I created Fit Body Bootcamp International, my goal was to take personal training and reduce the cost of personal training. I wanted people who couldn't afford personal training to work with a personal trainer at a reduced rate. So we went from one-on-one personal training to the boot camp style. And the whole idea there is one coach or trainer and many clients. And that reduces the cost that each individual person is paying. I knew that there was a problem, and so I brought in a solution. Whatever brand or whatever business or idea that you have right now, I don't want you to think about branding. I want you to think about solving a problem. You go and you solve the problem, and everything else will fix itself, because you'll sell one, and then two, and then three. And so whether you're building a franchise, or you're building a media marketing agency, or maybe you're just a one-off location selling cupcakes, make the best cupcakes you can on the planet. And when you do, guess what happens? People talk about you.
I'm an aspiring chef. I'm in culinary school right now. I'm trying to make a side hustle sharpening knives.
I love this idea. I'm gonna give you a tremendous piece of advice that too many people that are ideological and don't actually play in the game push against, but I believe in it the most. You should go sharpen knives for 5 restaurants for free.
For free, okay.
Yep. Like I spoke for free for the first 13, no, actually I got paid for the first one because that's how it also, for 13 of the first 15 times I ever spoke, I spoke for free, including paying for my flights. It's one thing to do free work, it's another thing to do free work with heavy strategy. When I do free work, I try to think of 2 things. How much exposure is it? Like Tyler will tell you, sitting right here, one of the only times I still do free work is if it's massive exposure. There are 49,000 people in the audience. I'm like, it's a lot of exposure. You know, like it's live on, you know, it's during the Super, like I'll pay somebody to put me in a Super Bowl commercial, right? Like when I get exposure, and that's where I'm at now. For you, when you pick these 5 restaurants, let it be the biggest restaurants in your 30-mile radius. Let it be the kindest. Let it be somebody who has the biggest Instagram following, and maybe like, whether, you know, you never want to give with expectation, but it's okay to ask. You're like, hey, I'd love to sharpen your knives for free. And then like you get in there and the vibes are feeling good. Maybe you're like, hey, listen, like, I hope you enjoyed it. Like, wouldn't mind to take a picture for my Instagram, which then makes them say, oh, we'll put you on our Instagram. Like, you can be thoughtful and do it the right way, but if nothing else, if you do it for free for 5 people, you've established that you do it. Word of mouth is a remarkably fascinating thing. Strategic free work is one of the great moves in our society.
What are people not understanding about video?
Okay.
What are they not understanding about how powerful it is for their business, their brand, and ultimately their message to impact people?
It's always that same question. What's the ROI on social media? Right? What's the ROI? Now the funny thing is, your business work and service, my business work and service literally lives off of social media. Mm-hmm. So there's obviously an ROI. But the problem is we live in a world where we want everything to be measurable. And there's a beautiful Einstein quote that says, not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that you can count counts, right? And we live in this world where everything needs to be measured. Like, oh, that video has 1 million views, how many sales did you get through that? But it's like, life doesn't work like that. There's a load of adverts and billboards on the street that the biggest brands pay for that don't convert into direct sales. Do you think that Coca-Cola looks at the billboard out there and goes, how many people saw that advert today and how many people bought a Coca-Cola because of that advert? They don't have that number. It doesn't exist. And they're one of the biggest brands in the world, but they still do it. So social media and video is just a new billboard. And the biggest brands know that the more you see it, like, I mean, this is funny, I saw this today. I saw a big billboard outside of my hotel that has all the Jenners and the Kardashians wearing their Calvins. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Right, I saw it straight away this morning. Then I saw it on Instagram, and then I saw it everywhere. So already, I've seen it in 3 places. Now, I don't need women's Calvin underwear. But the point is that I've seen it in a million places. So anyone who's not using video hasn't understood that more people are going to see video than anything else. And not just that, video is so much better than a billboard. Mm-hmm. You can say so much more.
Right.
So for me, it's just a lack of seeing opportunity. There's a great, I think this is a old tale. It's not true, but it's told that when Nike first went to India, they went there, and it's not Nike, it's any sneaker brand. Mm-hmm. It's a nice story. And when they first went to India, they saw everyone was barefoot. So the first reporter came back and said, oh, there's no market there because no one wears trainers. And then the second reporter went, then he said, oh, no one wears shoes. And then he came back and says, we've got a huge market out there, right? And it's the way you see it. That someone saw no one wearing shoes as no market, but another person saw everyone not wearing shoes as a market.
Right.
And that's what video is. That you can sit here and debate the ROI on video for as long as you want. But the truth is, every major brand has invested in a front window that may not translate to direct sales or work or whatever it is.
Right.
But it does.
Do you think every brand should be using video?
Every brand should be using video.
A lesson in branding, whenever you're trying to brand yourself, or any company, if you change your brand from what it used to be, right away you can get resistance. So most people, when they get a little resistance, because most people don't have thick skin, they stop. But over time, if you keep branding yourself in the new brand, then eventually it catches on. Like I used to not have much fitness stuff, so when I started putting fitness stuff, people were like, what is all this fitness? Now, eventually, people just associate that with you, and they forget there was a time when you didn't do it. So that's a good tip on branding. You have to have thick enough skin, because it's kind of like when Facebook changed. Every time they change their interface, people go nuts. Oh, I hate this. But then 3 months later, they can't remember the old one. And then when you change to a new one, they say, no, we like the one before, but that one before is the one they hated because it was a change from the version of, one before. But Mark Zuckerberg's smarter than people. That's why he just keeps changing it to whatever is better, and then people eventually like it. Same when Instagram changed their logo, and Snapchat changed their, people always, a lot of people have low O, meaning low openness to new experience. They automatically hate anything new.
What do I worry about? I worry about brand control. My brand is huge now, right? And one thing I fight with every day, I want to make sure I don't dilute the brand. I don't do anything, make any major mistakes, because any mistake will hurt your brand. And so those are the things that keep me up at night, just making sure my brand remains strong. And so that's a good message for all these young men and women watching your show, is make sure that your brand is everything. And you will always be able to make money if your brand is strong. Even if you go bankrupt, if your brand is strong, you'll be able to still make some money. Donald Trump proved that. He bounced right back. Look where he is today. He went through that phase, came right back, because he kept the brand strong, and that's important.
We spoke to the creator and the person who's maybe looking to work on their personal brand and stuff. On the flip side, there are a lot of old school brands that have sort of like a dinosaur mentality when it comes to social media and new school marketing. And you being one of the disruptors in that area, you've mentioned in your keynote Nike and how you weren't even wearing anything that was Nike.
That's amazing.
What sort of message do you have to the guys at the top, let's say, that are scared to evolve and they're hesitating because they're used to what works for them?
I mean, look, I think Nike has one of the strongest brands in the world because they're willing to take chances on a video like that. And the reason why someone like myself works well with a company like Nike is because it's about an ethos as much as it's about a product. Which is to say that it's very little about the product. Mm-hmm. I think Apple computers, their commercials are never about their products or their products' features. They're about an idea. And my philosophy on branding and marketing as a whole is if you sell the idea, people will invariably buy the product. All the marketing that I do is always about ideas. It's never about products.
One of the things I've learned over the years is that people may have tremendous potential, but because of the way they are perceived by others, the way other people look at and value, think, and talk about them, they never get a chance to use that potential. So I began to study what it is about branding and image that sets you up to be successful and far faster than most other people. Let me define a brand first. A brand is basically a promise. When you have a brand, it's a promise that you make and are known for keeping to the person who you are asking or trying to influence. Human beings decide emotionally and justify logically. If you have a good personal brand, people are willing to pay you more for your product or service and argue less. A brand always begins with your values. What do you stand for? Quality, excellence, responsiveness, teamwork, innovation, leadership. Then, when you're clear about these, you build a tremendous personal brand by starting with the principle of integrity. There's no better reputation you can have other than for people to say that when they do business with you, you always fulfill your promises. The answer for success is to do what you've been hired to do and do it now. This expands into every area of your interactions with others. Here's the rule. Everything counts. Everything that you do either creates and builds your brand or weakens and destroys your brand. Everything counts.
Hublot came out with a product in 1980, a product that was based on an innovation to introduce rubber as a strap. It seems very common today, but rubber in 1980 was a real courageous move. It was even a provocation. People said, hey, on a gold watch, rubber? Because people didn't know rubber comes from a tree, rubber is natural, rubber is very comfortable, it's very flexible, and rubber is very resistant. And it's waterproof, so finally it's ideal for a watch. But in those days, people thought it's a provocation. And then Hublot could not evolve. They stayed on a product. And I said, we are not a product. We have a message first. We have a concept. And the concept is fusion. Why? Because in 1980, when we put gold together with rubber, we created a fusion because gold and rubber never come together. They were together only one time in life during the Big Bang. Then everything was in one. And then rubber went away and said, okay, I go now on my tree. And gold said, okay, I go and rest in South Africa under the earth. And since then, they never met, till people take them and connect them. So I said, Hublot made a fusion. And fusion must be our message, must be our philosophy, must be our religion. And once we have this religion clear, and it is named fusion, then we can develop further products that not necessarily need rubber anymore, because fusion goes further away than just rubber. It can be carbon, it can be ceramic, whatever. So I was capable to free Hublot from the product and give Hublot a message. And from that message, new products were born. And that was the most important element in the revival of the brand. It's to take it away from a product concept and to give it a brand message. And from the brand message were then later born, in 2005, new products.
They gave us this, all this information on you about Fluffy, and I thought this was a joke. So I tested it to see if it was a joke. It said if you Google Fluffy, it's you, and then it's a bunch of bunnies. And I Googled it, and that's exactly what happens.
How do you do that?
You come up first, and then 3 or 4 down is a bunny.
I've been branding the Fluffy name for over 15 years.
Yeah.
I caught on early that, there was something there. And I just went with it because I used to get upset when I'd say the joke and then people would come up to me afterwards and they wouldn't say, great job, Gabriel. They would say, hey, good job, Fluffy. And I'm like, really? I said Gabriel Iglesias 6 times. I said Fluffy once, but Fluffy's what stuck.
Yeah.
And so after a while of getting tired of being upset over it, I just embraced it. And I started marketing myself that way, where I'm always the big guy with the Hawaiian shirts and I'm Fluffy. And so
you're recognizable.
Yeah, everything has, and then see, that's a problem too. A lot of entertainers, they keep changing their looks before they become famous. And it's like, you need to have a level of consistency. You need to be able to market yourself. You need to be able to brand yourself. If you got a good product, who's going to find out about it unless you sell it the right way?
Preach it, brother. You wouldn't do the Puff Daddy thing and change your name to Fluff one day.
You know what? I could do it. I could do it now just because now people know who Fluffy is.
Right.
But back then, no. I mean, you got to get yourself to a point where everyone knows who you are, and then you can pull that move.
What is it that you see for yourself? What are your goals long term as a business?
You see some golfers, you see the likes of Arnold Palmer, you see the likes of Jack Nicklaus, and you see how they've built their brand over the years. And I think the most important thing for an athlete is building their brand on their performance, on their field, whether it be on the golf course or on the football pitch or the basketball court or the tennis court or whatever it is. I think that's the number one thing.
Right,
but then,
because you can't do one without the other.
Exactly, so I think that's the most important. And then, if you do have that performance on the field or on the golf course, I think then it's about, having a great team around you and knowing what you want to achieve. And I think a lot of it is, when you're satisfied, when are you happy? Are you ever going to be satisfied? Or, I think that's something that's a big question mark for a lot of people.
Now I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're going to enjoy, but before that, it's time for the best Live 30 questions of the day. It's not enough to just watch a video, you have to do something about it, so pull out your worksheets and answer these questions, and if you don't have the worksheets yet, get them for free by checking the link in the description below. Here we go. Question number 1, how would you define what your brand message is? Number 2, what's the problem that your brand solves? And number 3, how will you market your brand to get more visibility? And if you're doing the Best Live 30 challenge with me, put a hashtag BestLive30 in the comments below. We want to celebrate you.
I'm trying to apply your 9-5 rule, which is just take massive action.
Yeah.
I have a problem in my life with being too much of a perfectionist and procrastinating. So now I'm at a point where I'm trying to publish all these blog articles, start this brand new website. But I don't have a following on any social media channels. I think the success barrier for me is I'm worried that I'm gonna write these let's say 30 articles, and every day I want to write an article, and then I'm gonna publish it, and no one's gonna read it.
Right. No one is going to read it.
Yeah. Well,
But that's the start, dude. That's the start. You put up content and nobody cares at the beginning. It's consistently following through. 30 articles in 30 days isn't going to be enough. It's every day, forever. And maybe Instagram's not the game forever, but if you have a message and you want to get it out there, creating content is the best way to do it. So my Instagram. Last year, I started taking it seriously. We had 7,000 followers or something. We started posting 6 times a day. It was me doing everything at the start, right? Even though I had people on my team, I did everything at the start. And then once I figured it out, then I hired people to help me do some of the work, right? But I like to understand it first. So for you, be looking at creating content has to be part of your marketing strategy, whether it's video, for YouTube or Instagram content or Twitter or LinkedIn, wherever you're going to be. And then where in your calendar are you going to spend time creating the content? And at the beginning, nobody's going to look at it. 1, because they don't know who you are yet. And 2, because it's not as good as it could be. Go back and watch my first videos. They weren't very good. They get better with practice. Even Alex from making videos for TDS, like salsa videos and thought leadership videos, there was a period of time 3 years ago, 4 years ago? When were you making videos regularly?
First started,
for TDS? No, videos in front of the camera.